Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. Coming at you for the May 2026 update on June 1st on the list, but whatever, I don't care. Anyways, hope you're all doing well. Let's get right into it. So if you watched my April 2026 update video, you might know that I was going through what I was calling Loopy May, which was essentially lock-in time for me. I don't know if I gave any specifics on what I wanted to do during Loopy May. Uh, I don't I don't recall if like I actually put that out in writing. But essentially, I wanted to finish the script and then get as far into the video as possible. And I am very happy to report that during the first week of May, I managed to finish the script. And then in the coming month, I managed to finish day one and the intro. So that is the current runtime is actually at 42 minutes. So it is quite a bit more substantial than the tropical one, I will say. I believe day one concluded around the 30-minute mark in tropical. But again, there was just a lot that went on, a lot that needed to be said, and the day one and the intro are always the most, I want to say, it requires the most commitment of time because there's a lot to discuss and like different, I wouldn't say boundaries, but like different rules to establish, right? Not necessarily even a part of a challenge per se, but more so, hey, we're in this world and you can't get ores normally, and instead you have to dust them up in crates, stuff like that, right? Just kind of to give the needed context in order to help tell the story. But in terms of the script, we are now looking at 8 out of 20 pages completed. So pretty substantial if you look at it that way. Almost halfway done the script. But that being said, I'm not all too sure about a June release date anymore, honestly. Simply because I'm going through something that I am referring to as scope creep. I'm sure you guys probably know what that is already. But basically, my workflow right now has kind of turned into, okay, here is this exposition that I want to get. Here's me talking to somebody during Ruinous Sands, and I'm using like my recorded OBS footage, right? But then there's a part of me that's like, well, wouldn't that just look so much better if I just recorded it in flashback instead? Like, get all the crazy camera angles that way. Wouldn't that just look so much better? And then by then it's like now all of a sudden I'm parsing through my replay file, and now I'm rendering 5 different shots through that, and all of a sudden now that's 15 minutes that I spend doing that, right? So it is definitely starting to be a lot. I believe for day one I rendered around 220-ish replay files, which is quite substantial. I believe none of my days in tropical came anywhere close to that. I think I maxed out at like 80 on like maybe day two. And plus, I benefited greatly at that time because in that moment, I actually forgot to record with flashback for like most of day three. So I have flashback to work with the entire video. So I'm kind of falling victim to scope creep there. But I figure it's like, I'm not stressing about it. It's just kind of one of those things, and I want to put together the best video I possibly can. And if it takes extra time to make something that I enjoy and that I hope you guys enjoy, then it's just how it's gonna be, right? I'm not kicking myself in the foot where it's like, well, why am I even doing this at this point? But that being said, there is a part of me, as with, I'm sure if any of you guys are creators, I'm sure you feel the same way, where it's like, is anybody gonna watch this? What's the point? I'll be honest, I am hitting that a bit now, simply because I am pretty happy with my script right now. But the way my story ended in Ruinous Sands is a little bit, in the grand scheme of things, that is pretty underwhelming. But I'm trying to put together the point where it's like, it's not necessarily, you know, obviously my story isn't part of the main story. My story is my story. I'm able to elevate other people's stories in like my own specific way, and other people are able to elevate my stories in their own specific way, right? Like, it's not necessarily about like, oh, we planned on doing this and then this happened instead. XYZ, if that makes sense. And then it's also just like it's pretty substantial in any case. Because a lot of it, a thing that I struggled with when I was working on the script before is like trying to give reason as to why I did things. Where it's like, oh, we did this and then we did this, but you also don't. I also don't want to. Now we're good. But I also don't want to be like, okay, and then we went into the desert and then we got lost for 30 minutes and then we found these guys here and then we talked to them. Like, I want to try and give a reason as to why I found those people, why we got lost in the desert, why we did all those things. And if I'm getting lost in the desert like 4 separate times throughout the story, it's like, I don't know, it just kind of feels redundant, right? Like, a thing that kind of kicks me, it's like I go to a pretty substantial location on day 3 and I see mostly everything that happens in that location on day 3. And then all of a sudden on day 4 I'm going back to that same exact place that I was, that I already kind of explored mostly. You know, it's like, why would I do that? You know, it's like, yeah, sure, the things that happened on that day happened and they are different in their own ways, and you know, I made it work with what I had, but it's like, in retrospect, it's like, really, this place again? But no, it's the whole thing about my story is, you know, it's a tragedy. I'm kind of going for the vibe of like, if any of you watch The Sopranos, Christopher Moltisanti, where it's like, you know, what is my arc? You know, what's my purpose? And I think a lot of that kind of comes to, I hope that kind of comes through where it's like, you know, I'm not necessarily a role player, but now all of a sudden I'm role playing as a single father who is the dad of a sugarcane, you know? And it's kind of grasping with the fact and like kind of showing that in the script, like as the days go on, where it's like understanding that position that I found myself in. And then it's like, even though I don't really understand why I got to this point, you know, I got here regardless, and this is the story that came out of it. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm hoping that's the main theme that kind of comes across it, right? But in terms of like production, I am very happy with where it's at. It's just a lot of it is considering my days off and my free time, because I've gotten to the point, thankfully, in my mindset that it's like I don't want to play any games right now. I just want to work on this video. Like the last time I played Bloons Tower Defense 6 was the last time that I made the April update video, right? Or any game in general. I mean, it helps that like games are like dead right now, but it's still like, and again, it's like I understand like I'm at day 2 right now, and if I want to go for the launch date that I'm hoping for, originally it was supposed to be later in June. I'm thinking it's going to be like the middle of July now. It's not only does that kind of take a little bit of weight off my shoulders, it also kind of serves as like a motivation where it's like, listen, the last time I posted was on Christmas Day. You know, let's get something done here, y'all. And you know, to understand that, to thankfully understand that there's like a market for this kind of thing, my storytelling, and the way that, you know, you guys watch what I do, and you know, I'm forever grateful for that. And to have like, I understand where it's like my story isn't necessarily about like, you know, being the main guy or whatever. And I'm hoping that like people, you know, even if the story may be in the grand scheme of things a little bit mediocre, I hope I can tell like, you know, have a different theme come across that like makes it still worthwhile. You know, because that's the worst thing where it's like, wow, I just watched this guy run around a desert for like 2 odd hours and now it's just gonna end like that all of a sudden. You know, like that would be a terrible feeling, and I really, really hope that isn't going to be the case. I don't think it will be, but you know, there's a little voice in my head that's like, you know, maybe that could be the case. But you know, it's just kind of part of creating content, and you know, the position that I find myself in as a creator. It's like you just got to work through it, and you know, the only way I'm gonna know how people react is if I actually post the thing, right? But yeah, I think that really does about sum it up. Oh, the other thing, it's like my day, I work 4 10s, right? I've got to clock in the work in like an hour or so from the time I'm recording this. And, you know, my days off are kind of few and far between, even if I have 3 days off, because it's like take for example, like on Saturday, where originally my plan was to just lock in, start day 2, get this thing done. I got an invite to go to a birthday party, and then I went to the birthday party. Did I have a blast at the birthday party? You bet I did. Did I drink a copious amount of alcohol? Alcohol? You bet I did. And I wouldn't have that any other way. And I'm not complaining in the slightest. But then the other part of me is like, oh man, now I'm sort of behind mentally in where I wanted to be in the video. You know, and it's like those kinds of just random things pop up, and then all of a sudden now I'm not spending nearly enough time as I would like to on the video on my days off, especially considering the fact that I really technically only have around 15 or so of those days left before I would like to post a video. But, you know, it's like, that's the other thing too. It's like, I don't necessarily mind, you know, being wished away to, you know, have fun in real life, you know, go outside, feel the sun. But then there's a little part of me that's like, well, I sure do wish I was working on this right now. But, you know, regardless, it's just one of those things, like, what are you gonna do? I'm hoping that if the Ruinous video does as well as I'm hoping it does, um, I won't say like any number specifically, but, you know, crossing my fingers, hoping for the best. Maybe lightning won't strike twice, but, you know, we can certainly try, right? You know, hoping the best in that regard. It's like, you know, if this really does well, then that does open up doors where it's like, I would like to do this kind of thing full time. And if I'm able to do this thing full time, I can put a lot more time into it and I can get things out a little bit faster. And more importantly, of course, I can make more money, right? So that is, of course, always the end goal, you know, being financially stable in that regard. You know, I'm thankful for what the tropical video has done for me, what it's done for the channel. And, you know, I'm just hoping for the best, right? But regardless, I really do appreciate all of you guys sticking with me. I would anticipate. I don't know if I would actually put a release date on the video right now. Aiming for the end of June, looking to be the middle of July. We can try our darnest, and that's all we can do. But yeah, I believe that covers it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Alrighty, GG's, y'all. Oh, let me just beat this boss real fast. Alright, we're good. GG's, y'all.